The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi Saurabh, if you can hear me, we are live. Saurabh, can you unmute yourself? Perfect, we are live, thank you. Saurabh, can you hear me?
I'm not able to hear anyone.
Saurabh, can you hear me? I'm sorry, we are having some technical difficulty with Saurabh. Can you just give us a moment, please? We will begin at the. Thank you.
Jugal, Naushad here.
Yes, Naushad.
Can I,
would you want to begin?
Can I welcome everybody?
Yes, please.
So, hello everybody. This is Naushad Panjwani here. I'm the regional president of Indo-American Chamber of Commerce. We're going to have a lovely session today. We have got two very, very esteemed speakers as panelists on board. My Vice President Saurabh is going to be the moderator. We're just getting him online. It should take just a minute more, and I request for you to be patient for that. Moreover, today we have a record registration for this lovely webinar, a topic we thought may not be of much interest to others because everybody is presently talking about economics and business and calamities and things like that. A topic which is of humanitarian in nature. We thought we may not get a very good response, but thanks to the lovely panelists we have, and also thanks to all of you for taking time out for a topic of this nature, which is very, very required. Also, I can see the list of panelists in front of me, and I'm really, really proud that such esteemed people have logged in. So I welcome all of you, and just be patient with us till we get our moderator online. All of us are used to now this work from home, where broadbands and connectivity has become our lifeline. And so certainly that handsome face you see is not me. That's our Vice President Saurabh Shah, who's going to be the moderator for today's session. In the meanwhile, what I would like to tell those people who have registered is, as the session begins and you have questions in mind, there's a chat box, and if you could just send in your questions, Our moderator will pick them up and ask them on your behalf to the panelists, because unmuting everybody and there could be issues of cross connections and cross talking. So I request you to put your short questions in the chat box, and Saurabh will screen them and take them time permitting. Jugal? Jugal?
Shah, just
Rakhi?
please. I'm on the other line with Saurabh.
All right. You want me to begin?
Yes, Masha.
You want me to begin?
I guess we can, because I think Saurabh is facing a bit of problem.
Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I think it's not fair to keep all the people who have logged in waiting, as well as our panelists. Saurabh can take over as soon as he joins us, but let me just begin by welcoming all of you. We have a record registration, as I told you. We are fortunate to have with us two very eminent speakers, Mr. D. Sivanandhan and Ms. Rebecca Daou. Ms. Rebecca has joined us from Chicago, USA. Thank you for this ungodly hour for you, and good morning to you. And she serves as the Executive Administrator of Lions Club International Foundation. The foundation, which was established in 1968, is a charitable grant-making arm of Lions Club International. Ms. Rebecca serves as the Director of the Lions Club International Foundation, India, which has a strong track record in working with Indian and US firms in India on achieving their corporate social responsibility goals. Welcome, Rebecca. Let me introduce our second speaker. Mr. D. Sivanandhan is a former Mumbai Police Commissioner of Mumbai and Managing Trustee of Mumbai Roti Bank. As we all know, Mr. Sivanandhan is one of India's most well-known and highly regarded police officer. Mumbai Roti Bank is a non-profit food rescue organization initiated by Roti Foundation that bridges the gap between hunger and excess food. Welcome, Rebecca. Welcome, Mr. Sivanandhan. And thank you for sparing your time. Friends, after the presentation of the speakers, I will be placing few questions which we have received from the participants. If Saurabh joins, he can take over. The participants can also post their questions on the question box during the presentation, and my colleague Jugal will read them out to the speakers. May I now request Mr. Sivanandhan, Managing Trustee of Roti Bank, to address us. Thank you. Mr. Sivanandhan, you can take over. Jugal, you will be controlling his slides. Mr. Sivanandhan?
Yeah. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks a lot to Naushad and the others who have organized this wonderful session. At the outset, I would like to salute all the people who are fighting against the coronavirus, like the medicos, the policemen, and so many others. The topic today is fantastic, appropriate on the right occasion. Please change the slide, please. Change the slide, please. Saurabh? Yeah, as Naushad rightly said, in India, we have a problem of 200 million Indians going hungry every day, in spite of producing millions of tons of excess food every year from the Green Revolution days. All over the world, 1 billion people and more are going hungry every day, and we have to feed them. and that is absolutely a must. So we began, me and my friends, a few friends have joined together and began this Roti Bank by the end of 2017 and beginning of 2018. We began in a humble way, and later on, it has picked up quite a lot because of all the excessive help which I'm receiving from everybody around the world as well as in Mumbai. Next slide, please. This is an NGO which is registered, and we have 80G permission from the Income Tax Department. These are my friends who began with me the journey, and Mr. Sushil Jivarajka was the FICCI Western India chapter chairman, and Professor Natarajan, who is online with us, is a Padma Shri awardee, and he runs an Aditya Jyot Eye Hospital. Please, next slide. What do? We began with this noble idea of saving excess food from all the events like weddings and hotels, cafeterias, offices, housing society, and all that, and deliver it to the thousands of people. That is going hungry every day. We have street children numbering about 50,000 in Mumbai, and the population here is about 27 million people. And quite a few are unable to afford this food. So we are trying to bridge the gap between the needy and the food which is going excess. We also serve outside Tata Cancer Hospital and the KEM Hospital and various schools in the slums of Mumbai. And to this hospital and the children, we give freshly made food, and we don't serve the leftover food. Next slide, please. So this is the logo and other things. Please go to the next slide. Our growth is phenomenal. We served 1 million meals within the first year, and we started buying our own vehicles to carry the food. We even carry these biodegradable paper plates and serving spoons also to these people. You can see the children who can't afford anything. You have never seen such good food at all. So we served 1 million meal, and this year, 2020, our goal is to serve 2 million meals. That is 400% growth is what we aspire. Next slide, please. So this is the food we are serving. It is freshly made in our kitchen. Please next, go next. And this is the queue outside the Tata Cancer Hospital. Most of them are patients, and most of them are relatives of their patient. Every day, about 700 people come and join us at 4:30 in the evening. These days, we serve morning 11:30 breakfast, and again at 4:30 the lunch or dinner, whatever you call that. Please go to the next slide. So this is our Sushil Jivarajka, one of our trustees serving the food. We go personally and check the quality of the food. The other one is a well-known hotelier, Preetham Midtown. He is helping us every day now by using his kitchen, which is closed for the time being. He produces 7,000 meals free of cost for us, and we give them the ingredients, and tremendous help. We also take help from one Harshad Prabhu from Goregaon. Please go next. So this is our usual place in Dharavi. We have been patronizing them right from the beginning, day number 1. They are from an institution called Drona Foundation. About 152 children. Every day without fail, we serve them fresh meals, fruits, and sweetmeats, and all that. Next, please. Next slide. And here on the World Food Day, that is 16th October 2019, we did a marathon 51,000 meals service, and we reached out to all the people in Mumbai, and we covered most of the schools too. They enjoyed a delicious meal. You can see the old lady enjoying a delicious meal. Next slide, please. Here, this is me serving the food on the New Year Day. And we have 47,000 NSS college students, that is a National Social Service Organization. And when they do 10-hour login, we give them a certificate as partners in Roti Bank who have been fighting against hunger in this country. This is a New Year Day. Please go next slide. And here are the volunteers. They're all BTech students and who have passed BTech and working in Morgan Stanley and things like that. they have been going personally. Go to the next slide, please. Go to the next slide, please. Here, during Mumbai Marathon, that is January, I've been associated right from the beginning, that is 20 years before. We told them that we will pick up all the excess food. 46,000 people participate. In the year 2019, 90,000 food packets were given to us. And our volunteers went all over the city and very happily covered this kind of children who were very happy. And again, 10,000 food packets this year in 2020 January, and we gave away to all the children who are waiting for such kind of good food once in a year. Next slide. Here are the beneficiaries. Next slide, please. This is again 10,000 meals this year, 29th February, the leap year day, funded by a company called Equifax. They all came and enjoyed the joy of sharing. We went to all the schools and slums and all other places. They really had even the directors of the company had come. Please go to the next slide. Next slide. Next slide. Various schools are there. Next slide. Yes, we impact their DNA, that is discipline, nutrition, and academics. We take care of their eyesight. We take them out for outing on the Christmas day and all other days. And even the Children's Day on November 14th is celebrated by taking them to various police stations and other institutions. You can see some of our volunteers beaming. Next slide, please. So we distributed the school supplies to the children, playthings and all that to all the children who are under our care. There it is Drona Foundation, you see. Next. So we take them out to this Mount Mary festival during the Christmas day at Bandra, and they really had a gala time. Next slide, please. So here is Jeevan Dhara. There is one more institution. And this is our anniversary day, and then they all have good time by sweetmeats and so many other things we give them away. They cut a cake. You can see the cake on the right hand side. Next one, please. So this is Jeevan Dhara in Mankur, one of the slums in Mumbai. Our people daily go 2 kilometers. They have to carry the food and deliver to the children. Unfortunately, now these children are all locked up in their houses. So we are reaching them out in their houses where they live. Please pardon me. I left this thing. I lost. I got disturbed. I got this. I don't know how to come back to you. Can you help me? Somebody can help me?
So you are on.
No, sure. I lost touch. I lost my screen.
That's okay, sir. You can continue to speak.
Okay.
We are on
only this. Okay. Only the slides we have to. Okay. Only you have to change the slides. I'll continue to speak. So
yeah,
we were at the Mankur facility, and the next slide is about Jeevan Dhara, that is at Mankur. Then please go to the next slide. That is again about the Drona Foundation, and please go to the next slide. I'm unable to see the slides. Excuse me. And this is about our milestones. Yeah. Milestones is our children. Yes. The idea is when we feed the street children, they would all stay back in schools, and thus they will stay away from the crime. That is, as a cop, that is my mission and vision. Thus, we are increasing the outreach to as many children as possible. Go to the next slide, please. This is the Roti Bank Foundation inauguration in Nagpur on the January 7th of this year. I found a very trustworthy friend of mine willing to do this job, shoulder the responsibility. Every day when we serve now 28,000 meals at Nagpur, we are able to reach out to 2,500 people. You can see the Commissioner of Police and the IG Nagpur range, Mr. Prasanna and Bhushan Upadhyay. Please go to the next slide, please. Done? This is the inauguration of our own kitchen. We are lucky. We got a kitchen worth about 50 lakhs of rupees. And this was inaugurated in the month of January. This is a very big value addition. We are producing almost 10,000 meals every day from our kitchen. And the second kitchen, as I mentioned earlier, is from Midtown Preetham Hotel, which is locked in now. And then one more at Goregaon. From this, we are delivering food at 30 locations. Can you go to the next slide? Actor Boman Irani, am I on this slide?
Yes, sir.
Hello, Jugal? You're
Yes,
on the slide where actor Boman Irani is mentioned?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So this is involvement of all the colleges and schools in our project. This is a machine which been innovated by the Sakek Engineering College, Chembur. And we also had an app done by them for the Roti Bank. And then this was inaugurated by actor Boman Irani. Has been very kind and a good friend of mine. And thus the reaching was fantastic. So next slide is our food distribution highlights. Are we on the same page?
Yes, sir.
So the New Year's Day on 2019, we served 2,000 meals. And we participated in the Guinness Book of World Record with Aditya Jodh Eye Hospital while they were screening diabetic retinopathy patients. Dr. Natarajan is online listening to us now. So there again, we served 2,000 meals for those special patients. On Valentine's Day, we gave jaggery rolls of rotis, chapatis, 11,000 of them. 17,000 meals Mumbai Marathon, 51,000 meals again on 16th October. And 10,000 meals Mumbai Marathon again on leap year day I mentioned. Please go to the next one. They need our support. Are we on this page?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So our need is this, that coronavirus has affected USA, UK, Italy, France, and all the places are under attack of the deadly virus, and thus people have been rendered unemployed. As I mentioned, normally 200 million people go hungry in India. Now it is double 400 million people. So we thought we will reach out to them rather than getting covered inside the house and staying inside. So this is the next slide, please. Our impact during COVID-19 outbreak. Could you show that? Hello?
Yes, sir. We are on that slide.
Yeah. So we have served about 3 lakh meals, much more than 3 lakh meals. You can see the graph. We closed it for a day or two, but then we began with 1,000 meals and it became 4,000, 5,000, 6,000, 10,000. And today we are able to serve about 25 to 28,000 meals. And the next slide, please. We are on the page where the Senior Inspector of Police of Dharavi is standing there. As you all know, it's a lockdown period. We cannot reach out to deadly places like Dharavi, Worli, Kolivada, and other places. So we take 7,000 to 8,000 meals every day to Dharavi police station, and we hand it over to the police. We joined hands with the Mumbai Police Commissioner and others so that they also earn the goodwill of the people. Normally in the TV, we show them getting lathi charged and all that, like yesterday in Bandra railway station. But then this brings good name. Please go to the next slide. And please go to the next slide. And please come to that next slide where blue suited Roti Bank people are there. The headline is the we cover 30 plus locations. Are we on the same page?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Now here you can see that we are catering to the younger generation. The blue suited man is a Roti Bank volunteer. We have insured them, we pay them double, and then we give them all the protective gear every day and take care of them. And thus, while others are resting, like the cops and the medicos, our men also are venturing out. Please go to the next slide. This is one of our vans. We have 10 of them and one more there. So can we go to the next slide, please? Our team is maintaining proper hygiene. That's the headline.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. And this is that every day happening in the Tata Cancer Hospital outside. Please go to the next slide. Is targeting the small slum children. Please go to the next slide. And please come to the next slide where it says meal package distribution at Sahu Nagar. Are we on the same page?
Yes, sir.
So this is Sahu Nagar is part of Dharavi, and we reach out there every day with the help of the police, and we distribute food. Go to the next slide, please. So these are all the distribution slides. So the next one is spreading smiles, one meal at a time. Are we on the same page?
Yes, sir.
So these are the some of the beneficiaries, and they wait for us eagerly every day. And please go to the next slide. So our motto is hunger ends here. So where people meet us, their hunger has to be ending there. So the last slide, please go to the last slide, is about our logo and our identity and our website and all that. Website, I request all the people who are watching this program to visit our website, www.rotibankindia.org, and the other email and other. This is the banking details. I request everyone to give their feedback on our website and help us grow. I end my presentation. Thank you very much for the patient hearing. Once again, I salute all the medicos and the cops and others. Thank you, Naushad. Thank you, my fellow panelists. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Shiva. Hello. Thank you, Sivanandhan, sir.
Thank you.
I think my colleague Saurabh is online now. Saurabh, are you online?
Yes, I'm in. Yes.
Excellent, excellent. So we missed you in the first session. I'll invite Rebecca to take her session, and post that, Saurabh, you'll take over the Q&A session. Thank you so much. Rebecca, your session starts now.
Great. Thank you so much, Naushan. I want to extend my greetings to everyone. And as my co-panelists said, hope you are all well and staying safe and healthy during this challenging time we're having. I would add that we're also having snow in Chicago right now, so you can appreciate the difference between our weather and yours. I'd like to especially thank our Indo-American Chamber of Commerce for their leadership, our moderator, as well as the president. I've had the good fortune to visit India many times over the past 20 years and consider it one of my many second homes. And so have been watching closely the impacts of COVID-19 and the responses by all of the stakeholders. Thank you so much, Mr. Sivanandhan, for your wonderful presentation. I really appreciated learning more about what you're doing and was very impressed with your feeding programs, especially those for the children, and how you have adapted in these uncertain times. We have many of our members on the line today, I saw, so thank you all for joining from the Lions leadership, as well as numerous corporations, both Indian and US firms. And we really count on your leadership to play a strong role as we look to restart the economy after this pandemic. So if we could go to the next slide, I'll give a brief overview of our presentation for today. We have four main topics. I want to introduce Lions to those of you who are on the webinar who might not be familiar with us and our work in India, provide a snapshot of the Foundation's CSR work in India, discuss briefly how we've been responded to COVID-19 globally and then also in India, and most importantly, begin to look ahead and how we plan for the future landscape, which is going to ask a lot from all of us. And then I know at the end, we also have time for questions and answers. So if we go to the next slide. Lions Clubs International has a rich history going back 103 years. We were founded in 1917. We are a global organization with over 1.4 million members worldwide who reside in over 200 countries. And our foundation is the grant-making arm of Lions Clubs International. We are a tax-exempt public charitable organization, which allows for 100% of all of our funds to flow directly to critical projects in communities across the world. And we take great pride in this, that we are able to cover our administrative and fundraising costs through other sources. If we talk, next slide, please, is going to speak about our foundation's impact. We've given over $1 billion since our founding in 1968, and we're really able to do this because of the generous donations from our members, corporations, foundations, and governments that allow us to quickly respond in times of need and address critical challenges within communities. Our projects are very broad and in nature. They range from our work in health. Many of you might know us for our work in eye health and vision. We also do work in diabetes, childhood cancer, education, infrastructure, and as we are seeing right now, disaster response to COVID-19. Now, if we go to the next slide, we'll talk a little bit more specifically about Lions in India. We're not only a global leader, we also lead on a country-by-country basis as well. India is one of our largest membership countries in the world, and there have been Lions in India since the 1950s. We have over 286,000 members and have dedicated, as you can see, lots of funding, over 2,000 project sites over the years, and this makes us a very trustworthy and proven partner with a good reputation that we show we have the capacity to scale projects in different locations. We also have a LCIF India entity that has Section 80G certified. Our regional office, along with our current and past Indian leadership from our board of directors and trustees, deliver expertise, key insights, and critical management for Lions resources and projects across the nation. And as I said, I was very happy to see that we have several of them attending the webinar today, and so would like to acknowledge their presence and thank them for their leadership. On the next slide is a little bit about our CSR portfolio. And as you know, this is so important. Not only is it mandatory, but really a critical aspect of any successful corporate business model. Our CSR activities create an impact on their communities and global environment, and they also forge strong bonds between employees and corporations and boost morale. And we feel that the opportunities are endless. On the next slide, we're going to talk a little bit about this work specifically in India. And I know that all of you understand that CSR is beyond a government mandate, but it also increases shareholder value and reinforces the bottom line approach to impacting communities. So with our depth in India and our members being involved, many themselves in businesses, our foundation is a trusted advisor who has the ability to really help corporations reach their CSR mandate. And one of the things that we always like to talk about in terms of our uniqueness is that we are ingrained in the communities through our members who know what the needs are. Specifically, we help corporates reach their targeted sustainable development goals outlined by the United Nations and supported by the government of India. And some businesses might not think of Lions as the natural CSR partner, but when you take a look at our work, we have great achievements and goals such as global health, water and sanitation, disaster recovery, and youth skill development, among others. On the next slide, you'll see many of our partners and the different groups that we've worked with in India, from industry organizations to corporates, foundations, and governments. We're willing and able to partner with an entrepreneurial spirit and are always looking for new partners to tackle the most pressing issues within the countries. We also have other implementational partners that aren't necessarily represented here, such as Special Olympics Bharat. And our Lions on the ground also possess direct relationships with companies and have really been the key leader in forging many of these partnerships in India. And so if we go to the next slide, let me give you an example of one of our partnerships with Johnson & Johnson Vision. So we have an 18-year relationship with Johnson & Johnson Vision on a global scale, and that's called Sight for Kids. And we have locations in India, Thailand, the Philippines, Africa, Turkey. In India, we operate in Kerala, Telangana, West Bengal, and Jharkhand, providing children access to comprehensive eye health care in order to improve their lives through sight. So to this very day, we're looking at how we can scale up and increase this partnership through new health innovation models and in new areas. And we're working closely with Johnson & Johnson to debut a pilot program that will incorporate and integrate Sight for Kids with local community health workers to better streamline the process and hopefully serve even more children. On the next slide is another example of what we're doing through CSR in partnership with Coal India. So as I mentioned, along with childhood health, wellness, and education, we also work to improve water and sanitation for communities in needs. We've been working with Coal India for the development and implementation of 28 reverse osmosis water filtration systems in the West Bengal region, and will provide over 35.2 million liters of clean and safe drinking water for residents. We recognize that companies such as Coal India are actively looking for ways to give back to their communities through sustainable needs, and Lions are that link that can assist with these organizations. And on the next slide, our final highlight for CSR is Manapuram Finance, and in particular, our joint efforts to construct sound, sustainable, and safe homes in Kerala. I don't have to tell any of you on the webinar about the devastation of the Kerala flooding, and had the opportunity to witness firsthand following the disaster some of that. Manapuram Finance has helped to support those who are affected by this unforeseen natural disaster, and we are set to complete 200 houses by 2021. So we're very appreciative of our work together. Now, let's turn to the next slide and talk about our response to COVID-19. So our foundation, as well as our Lions, are certainly experiencing many challenges during this uncertain time. It's changed the way we travel, the way we congregate, and the way we serve in our communities around the world. We care about all of our members and the people we serve, which is why we all need to put health and safety first in this challenging time for all of us. On the next slide, you'll see that we've approved and directed over 1.9 million in grants to our Lions across the globe who are in need. This figure changes on a daily, sometimes hourly basis, and I'm happy to report that as of yesterday evening, this was over $2.2 million and almost 100 grants within a 2-week period. And I think this is testament that our members don't sit still in the times of dire need, that our members really rise to the occasion and want to serve in their communities as they do in times when there aren't pandemics as well. On the next slide, you'll see what our emergency grant strategy is. We have an established emergency grant program, and we have continued with it and also implemented other criteria. Our focus is on addressing those needs that exist within local medical and emergency management systems that are coordinated efforts within the World Health Organization or the Centers for Disease Control, as well as local health authorities. Our focus is on active and immediate needs, and you can see that some of the items we're assisting with: hand sanitizers, N95 mask, gloves, miniature ventilators, PPE kits, nutritious food supplies, and medical oxygen supplies. On the next slide, you will see how we're specifically addressing in India. We have several grants that we've approved. We're working with governments, international healthcare agencies, and our own clubs in order to monitor the ongoing pandemic, which continues to change the way we live, work, and serve. You can see that we have provided funding in areas throughout India in order to supply these communities with the healthcare essentials necessary to combat this pandemic. And I would just add, even though we only have 5 featured here, we are serving in several other areas as well throughout India. And so on the next slide, that brings us to the topic of our webinar today in terms of what about beyond COVID-19 and the future landscape. So our immediate current need is to respond to aid and equip local communities in India We've been swift and able to do so that, but we also must look ahead and see what the future brings as well. And right now, much of the concentration seems to rest on metro and big cities, but there are large populations that are in need, certainly that reside in villages, small towns, and districts where recovery is crucial for future stability. And our Lions have a presence in all of those as well. If we go to the next slide, and in particular, the post-COVID-19 priorities, we have to have coherent plans moving ahead in order to restore and install normalcy. I would say clear and consistent coordination between industry, government, and NGOs will be paramount to assess the needs of communities. As an NGO, you might be asking, what do we Lions bring to the table? Our Lions are ingrained in each and every community across India, both large and small, and are certainly committed to excellence in our work within the country and alongside governments and industry organizations. So it's critical that we continue to expand our collective collaboration in order to address the most pressing health concerns. Moving on to the next slide too, we have put together some ideas about what we call a post-COVID-19 agenda based on what our Lions and our partners are seeing and doing in the ground. The key question is how to effectively respond. The Ministry of Corporate Affairs has made it clear by notification that the spending of CSR funds for COVID-19 response is eligible for CSR activity, and we weren't surprised by that, and we were very happy to see that, and we'll be spending some of our CSR funds in that way. Looking at vulnerable communities is a concern as well. Those that could be left behind after the pandemic, such as children who might lack daily nutrients that might have otherwise received at school, the same for the elderly, to ensure they are safe and secure. So I was very heartened in my co-panelist presentation to see in many of the photos that those are the exact vulnerable populations that they are focusing on. Those with disabilities and special needs as well will need to be provided necessary assistance and support, which might have lacked during the lockdown. Those with low vision or the blind are also extremely vulnerable. Clean and safe drinking water will continue to be an important and lasting space that corporations and NGOs can assist. Education. We all know that education and special needs by schools to reopen schools again and begin to educate India's future will be a priority. And we also know that this pandemic has placed an enormous weight on the public institutions to deliver service, so we'll be looking for ways to assist them in their efforts. And then finally, also supporting health systems long-term with training, adequate supplies of materials, and new systems to respond when relapses occur, potential outbreaks spike again, ensuring that we better equip ourselves. And certainly Lions, as well as many companies that we can partner with, can play an instrumental role in supporting all of these types of activities. And so finally, we were planning to show a video, but doing a test run a couple days, realized that the bandwidth probably would not be the best. And so if we could go to the next slide, we'll be sending that link to the video to all of you, and you can watch on your own. And we'd like to look at next steps. We would invite any of you that are on the webinar, as well as any other partners, to continue the dialogue between all of us. And talk about what we can do together to both address this pandemic as well as following the pandemic. You can see there our website as well as our follow-up point of contact. And again, I really want to thank everyone for having this opportunity to present today, particularly our moderator, Saurabh Shah, and his colleagues at the Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, my co-panelists as well as all of our Lions members and our staff team who are on the webinar today, and look forward to hearing your questions. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rebecca. This is Saurabh Shah here. Good evening, everyone. A wonderful and very insightful presentation. We have a couple of questions. for both our eminent speakers. So I'll place the first question to Rebecca. Rebecca, you have given some fantastic background on few of your partnerships. And I noticed that you mentioned that the foundation has supported over 2,000 projects in India. We are curious if you could give the participants some further background on the depth of your work.
Sure, thank you for the question. So I would first say that probably what the Lions of India have done beyond what we have done together through our foundation is even more monumental than that. So when we speak of the 2,000 projects that we funded through our foundation, that's just a small piece of the pie, so to speak. And those of you probably are very familiar with the various Lions Sight First Eye hospitals throughout the country. Certainly every time there's been a large-scale disaster, we've been there, the Gujarat earthquake, the tsunami, and most recently the Kerala flooding. In many of those cases, we helped to construct necessary community institutions such as schools or healthcare facilities, and then also housing for the victims. And then, on a regular basis, the Lions of India certainly do a wide variety of different projects, many healthcare facilities, many schools, many feeding programs. It's really up to each club to determine what they want to do in their community. And so it's very vast in terms of the different types of activities as well as the number of people who are served.
Okay. Now my question is to Mr. Sivanandhan. Sir, did you need to modify any part of your process in current times of COVID? And are you also delivering in the migrant labor shelters?
Good evening, Saurabh. You joined a little late. We are normally serving 3,000 to 4,000 meals a day to the school children and the patients of Tata Cancer Hospital and all that. When we hiked to 28,000 plus 2.5 in Nagpur, this is all aimed at the migrant laborers only. For example, in Dharavi, we reach out to 7,000 to 8,000 meals every day, and we go to all 30 locations in Mumbai, and various migrant labor organizations, people have societies, gatherings and all that. They come with their vehicle and carry 1,000 meals or 2,000 meals, and there are many like that. In short, this about 30,000 meals in Nagpur and Mumbai is aimed at addressing this issue. So we have hiked, we have increased our capacity. We have borrowed 2 kitchens at Goregaon and Midtown Preetham in Dadar and our own. And people are producing around 10,000 meals in each kitchen a day, only for these people. For example, even the Bandara people who had joined, if only we had known, I offered to the Mumbai police later that we could give 10,000 meals and 10,000 bananas the same day, but they were dispersed. So answering your question, we are serving 30,000 meals only for the migrant laborers as of now. Later, whatever happens, we get. I want to give an example of a very generous donor, our own actor, Shah Khan. He's got a foundation called Mir Foundation. They heard about us. They approached us and offered to pay for 10,000 meals a day for the next 30 days. I promise that I'll be offering 20,000 to 30,000 meals for the next 30 days, and the days to come until this corona problem is over. Thank you.
Oh, wonderful. Thank you. My next question is to Rebecca. Many of us have seen the Lions logo in our community and have had a friend, colleague, or a member in our community who is a Lion. If you can provide us some background on who are the Lions and what do they stand for? What background do they come from?
That's a great question. Thank you very much. I would say our Lions come from a variety of backgrounds. We have a lot of medical professionals, we have businessmen and women, teachers, etc., who are our members. But the thing that really binds all of them together is the desire to serve and improve their communities. And so, you know, that's and that would be not just in India, but throughout the globe, I would say. It's a great opportunity as well for networking and joining together in fellowship to serve a common cause. And so, again, a wide variety of backgrounds that our members have, but really what unites all of them is the passion to serve.
Mr. Sivanandhan,
Yeah.
this one is for you, sir. As we notice that there's a lot of contribution which is going to the Prime Minister Care Fund, and with the Ministry of Corporate Affairs issuing the notification, clarification, most of corporates are discharging their CSR obligation by contributing to PF Care Fund. But in such situation, what happens to the long-term commitment many had for ongoing projects, especially the sustainable projects who might have long-term impact on the country? How will they sustain and survive? Your comment, sir.
You know, when every program as per planning was going very beautifully, this kind of a corona attack came and made everybody to come to a grinding halt. There is no contact, there is no way to reach out, and there is no way to continue your program. So we have to completely shift gears, whether it is the Prime Minister's relief or whatever it is, except giving direct funding to the various bank accounts and all other things. They are not able to reach out to people. For example, in Mumbai, you have seen there are a few million people who are needing food, and the government and the BMC is not able to reach out. For example, we reached out to that Goregaon facility, NESCO facility. They had only tents and the people had not come. And as you saw in the Bandra so-called agitation yesterday, they are desperate to go back home and they don't have food, they don't have money. So all these programs are talking about, the CSR and the corporate and the government and all that, is not reaching out to the lost man. I hope you all agree with me. So only NGOs like us can reach out to the lost man. We have taken the risk. Even our own people are risking their life, like the medicos and others. They are reaching out to all these areas which are cordoned completely. We are taking the help of the law and order people, the policemen, and giving meals directly in the hutments of Dharavi and various other places. So government is there at like a satellite watching all our activities from the above, but do their programs percolate down to the last man? He needs food on his plate. These Bandra people, all of them wanted food on their plate or money in their pockets. That's it. And NGOs like us to help. I would like to appreciate Ms. Rebecca and the Lions Club, because Lions Club of Baikala and various others have come forward repeatedly to help us by collecting funds and joining. That way, I'm grateful to the Lions of India. I would like to put our logo in her presentation in the World Association with the Lions. If the Roti Bank logo finds a place, I'll be very happy on that day. Thank you, Saurabh.
Right, sir. While I have a couple of more questions, please allow me to check with my colleague Jugal if the participants have posted questions on the question box. Jugal, do we have any questions live from the participants?
We have a couple of questions, Saurabh. I'll just pick them up. Give me one moment, please.
Sure.
This question is actually for Mr. Sivanandhan. Sir, the person wants your thoughts. Don't you think we must all evolve towards personal social responsibility other than CSR during COVID-19 times? If you can give any comments on that, sir.
Absolutely, I agree. In the Hindu Dharma, it has always been mentioned that everyone, Atithi Devo Bhava, and anybody who is hungry has to be fed. In Tamil, they say Yadu Mure Yavaram. That means Vasudevam Kutumbakam. That means we are responsible for the whole universe. the whole universe has become a small village now due to science and technology. As I mentioned earlier, out of 7 billion people, 1 billion people are going hungry every day. And in India, it was 200 million, which has gone to 400 million just with the outbreak of corona. So it is not only personal, individual, corporate, societal, and governmental, and various other commitments. It has to be there until the national poet Subramanya Bharati mentioned, if one man doesn't get his food that day, let us destroy the whole universe, he said. That's a Tamil poem he had written. So that means if one individual is going hungry, we should all feel bad about it. We should regret that day. But there are 1 billion people going hungry. So I am sure I agree with the questioner that not only CSR of corporates, individuals, societies, everybody has to throw in the towel in our fight against the hunger. We can't afford to see young and the old and the others going hungry every day because, as I said earlier, we got millions of tons of food. As on today, we got 80 million tons of food in the FCI godowns, and the people they are not having purchasing power to buy the food. So let us do something about that. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'll take one more question. Rebecca, perhaps you would want to throw some light on this. The person has made a comment saying, as economies are affected due to COVID-19, and this is perhaps at a global scale, how do you see NGOs looking at CSR funds coming from corporate houses and from other resources?
Sure, that's a wonderful question as well. I really appreciate all the participants and their insights. So I think that, we all recognize that the future landscape is going to change, but we also can look to history and other times where we've had significant global events and how that has affected the economy and what the bounce back has been and how that's taken time. But at the end, there has been resilience, and there has been, in most cases, even stronger comebacks. And so I know from the perspective of our organization, certainly we've been surprised at some of the generosity that people are still able to put forward in these very difficult times, those that have the means. I look to some of our members in India, and in particular, we have a partnership with the Oswald Trust, and they have been very generous not only to our foundation but also to the Prime Minister's Fund that was mentioned earlier to support these activities in COVID-19, as well as continue on with their generous grant making and support of our other programs like the ones mentioned earlier with Special Olympics, etc. So I think that, it kind of is related to the earlier question about the personal responsibility and that what everyone can do within their own means. So while we recognize that what the individual and what the corporate means are might change, that there will again be, I think, a strong comeback after this, and people will be very generous with their funds.
Thank you for those thoughts, Rebecca. Rebecca, I'll just put one more question to you. This is actually from the US consulate out here. They wanted to know how much from the 2.2 million is allocated for COVID-19 support. Would you have any cost share?
Sorry, just to clarify, was the question how much of the 2.2 million is allocated for COVID-19?
COVID-19 support for India specifically.
Yes. So I think currently what we've given India is around 50,000 US dollars. But as I mentioned, we do have several other applications that we're working with the Lions right now. So we would expect that to increase significantly over the next few days. I would say that, we don't necessarily earmark per every area, we address the needs as they come. And so we don't have any sort of limit on what we're going to give any one country or any one region, but we work with our local alliance to determine what the needs are in that community and how to best respond. Obviously, the challenge right now, as all of you know, is that many of our normal activities for service and distributing materials, distributing food, etc., are somewhat limited because of the social distancing and because of the lockdown. So I was really glad to hear that the local Lions are helping with the Roti Bank program. And I think that's a true testament of how adaptable we are as an organization. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. I'm sorry, that's all the time we have for questions right now. I know there have been a lot of questions that have come in for both our panelists, but we will address them offline due to limited time. Very sorry for this. Saurabh, over to you for the closing remarks.
Thank you, Jugal. On behalf of Indo-American Chamber of Commerce, I want to thank Ms. Rebecca, Daou, and Mr. Sivanandhan for the very insightful presentations. We are indeed grateful for the time and efforts you took to share your thoughts and experience on how CSR will play in the aftermath of this global crisis. I would also like to express my appreciation to all the participants for taking time out to attend the webinar. We are grateful to SKP for providing technical support and guidance. I would also like to thank my regional president, Mr. Naushad Panjwani, for his leadership. And I would like to applaud him for coming up with this unique idea of organizing a webinar on the topic of today, which is so relevant in the current challenging time and also is near to every heart. We are also grateful to Regional Director Ms. Rakhi Panda and her team for the meticulous execution and coordination. Friends, I would like to conclude by saying that the world has changed. The world has changed, hopefully for the better. Have a lovely evening. Thank you very much for your engagement and participation this evening. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Naushad. Thanks a lot.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.